The world is constantly telling us to live our authentic self, but we can get confused about what that is and where to even find that.
We're all struggling to figure out, what's authentic? What is even real?
What is even real?
There are so many fakes that are out there, but now we're really in a position where we're really trying to fool each other.
But since everyone's doing it seems normal. So how do you know that's real because everyone else is doing it? That's one of the big things I think is huge in finding authentic purpose.
Focusing on discovering our authentic purpose. And if you don't remember, authentic is when something operates in its intended purpose. Like that's how we defined it, right? So let's go back to David and see how he discovered his authentic purpose. As a 17-year-old boy, what did he do to prepare to become king?
Well, you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, we look throughout his experiences of what he had to go through to not knowingly, I don't think necessarily him doing these things, God put him in these positions without him knowing that these were going to be steps he had to take to become king. And for instance, one of them, him going out, I mean, he's killing lions as a 17-year-old. He's going out, he's doing hard, dirty work at 17, which is pretty rigorous. And I think with being able to have those experiences, that was lining him up to be able to eventually become king. But there's plenty other instances I'll let you hone in on.
Well, so I think it's important also to just set this up coming off of our last conversation is that the very first thing that was a marker for him or a pillar of his authentic purpose that came to light was through service. And so then when we start to look at these experiences that David had, all of these experiences that David had really came through, this lens of service. So as we look at his ability to do a hard thing, and David had some huge experiences. One of the ones that he's most famous for is the whole story of David and Goliath. Yeah. But how was it that he was able to even discover Goliath was an issue? It was because of service first. He was taking sandwiches to his brothers that happened to be out on the battlefield. It was in that service first that he saw, who is this guy? Who's this Goliath out there, and why is everybody afraid of him? When we look at the qualifications of why he eventually took on Goliath, you also find that through his service, because you just mentioned he takes on some bears and some lions. Mm-hmm. But why would he do that? Where did he do that? Well, that happened as a shepherd, and that happened as him, happened first through service. So I think it's important as we build these pillars kind of together, we start stacking this. Service has a posture to it. But then out of that service, you're going to start to have these experiences. Mm-hmm. And can you do a hard thing? I think that's the thing in our society today, and maybe I'd love to get your thoughts on it. What do you think the world thinks today when it comes to this idea of doing a hard thing?
They think hard is bad. Hard is bad, and if it's hard, I can't do it. But hard's not the same thing as bad. It's just hard.
It's just hard.
It's just hard.
The crazy part is, on the other side of everything, I heard this old man, he told me, I was in the gym one day, I forgot his name. On the other side of hard is going to be what you may think is your dream, whatever it is. But the greatest part about that is the plan of God is usually on the other side of what is hard. Every single time David had to go out, he had no idea, I guarantee you, he had no idea when he was out there killing lions, doing his shepherdly work. Yep. He had no idea he was going to be a king after that. He had no idea probably that these things were going to prepare him to be able to beat Goliath. Yeah.
Yes.
But the crazy part is our world today it's almost like the truth is a hate speech, and then it's vice versa. Hate speech is a truth. And I'm not saying that we're not going to talk about speech. It's a whole other concept for itself. But the world's going to tell you today with comfortability that in order to find the things that you want to do in life, it's going to come from, one, you got all these people on social media looking at what they're doing. It might say, hey, what's that dude? Not to hate on Dave Ramsey. He has great content. But I feel like sometimes the misconception is, hey, you put your money in this account, you put your money in this account, you're going to it's easy as that. You're going to take off. No, man, you got to go through these experiences, through these hardships to really come over what it is you're meant to be, your true purpose. And that's prevalent in athletics. I think that's prevalent in every single thing we do in our life. And that's why the Bible is so key, because it literally breaks down each of those experiences. And we're blessed to have that.
So it sounds like what you're saying is there's no easy button.
No.
Like if you're going to be a great point guard, or if you're going to be a great athlete, or you're going to do anything great, man, I'd love it if there was a way, if there was just an easy path to get there. But it sounds like that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I ask, what do you think the definition of success is in today's culture?
Money, fame.
Well, right, but even those things, I think it comes back to something we talked about earlier at one time. Is there's a certain comfort. There's a certain success means I don't have to stress. Like, and maybe that's the thing. There's such a fear of anxiety in our culture today, and there's this prevalent mental health issues, and which is a real thing, and that is a struggle. But I think a lot of people are just afraid to do a hard thing, and I think they're afraid that they're going to have anxiety. It's not going to feel comfortable, and it really sets them back in finding their authentic purpose and pressing into those opportunities.
So did David in his story, now this is also part of keeping it real, I'm gonna keep it real, and you guys might know, did he ever fail in anything he did? Like, was there any failures? Because we see that he beat the Goliath. We see that he did these things, that he was a great shepherd. But where were his failures at? Because we act as if being successful is, like you said, comfortability, but the reality is, and success is a cumulative attempts of failure to be able to finally reach that pinnacle of success.
Well, man, you saying that makes me think. There's a phrase that, our battles look a lot different when we're standing on past victories. If you stack a dead lion on top of a dead bear, and you put little David on top of that, looking down at Goliath, all of a sudden Goliath doesn't look nearly as big. And so you're right, our past successes help push us forward, because I think the concept is, if I know what I'm made of, then I think I might know what I'm made for. And for David, in that moment with the Goliath, he said, hey, I've beat a lion, I have beat a bear, and they don't have near the foul mouth this giant has. Like, and I know who God is. Like, let me take him on. I'll do that. And so out of service, he gets these experiences, and then out of the ability to step into those, to do the hard thing, he steps up and he's able to take on Goliath. Now, was he perfect as a king? Was he perfect in his life? No. Did he have missteps? Yes.
He had, yeah. And they're pretty big.
Yeah.
They're pretty big.
And that's what I know, because I know, like, I feel like everyone knows, like, and I didn't grow up in the church, but I know, because I've read it, I'm in Bible college, I know the story of David and Goliath, but that Old Testament whole part of 1st and 2nd Samuel I haven't fully discovered in. So I want to know, like, some of the key failures that he had, because I feel like that's prevalent of, like, those are experiences. That's not just the successful experiences, also those failure experiences.
So one of the major failures that David is known for is Bathsheba. Do you know who Bathsheba is?
Yes, yeah.
So during the time of kings, when kings go to war, he stayed home, and he's on a rooftop, and he sees Bathsheba during her cleansing time. So she's, taking a bath, which is kind of interesting, because, her name's Beth. Anyway, doesn't matter. So he takes her in, and he sleeps with her, and then she becomes pregnant. And so he has her husband, who is one of his mighty warriors. So David has several mighty warriors, and he's one of them. And David sends him back, and he has him killed. And so he commits adultery, and then he murders the husband. And then he marries her, and they have the baby, and the baby dies. But David realizes what he did was wrong, and he changes from that, and it humbles him in a way. I mean, there's other things that he does eventually, and issues arise because of it. But he always returns back to God. And that's the thing about David, and that's why God says David was a man after my heart, because he was constantly chasing God and realizing when he failed, because we're all going to fail, that he still turns back to God.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the huge part we have to also key in on with experiences, is because we might see all these people on social media like, oh my gosh, I did this, this, and this, but what is the backstory of what's real and what's fake? Because on the other side of that veil they have of their successes,
Yeah.
the reality is, man, we're gonna fail. Yeah. But how do we respond, and how do we move forward back to God?
Yeah, and you have years and years, for those that maybe you've seen and all of a sudden they look like an overnight success, they might have years and years of suffering and years of working hard and not seeing anything for it. Before those moments they ever go viral, there might be years into that. But here's the good news with when it comes to doing a hard thing. I think there's a fear that we have of, oh no, if something is hard or something is terrible or difficult, has favor been removed from me? Because comfort's been removed, is somehow favor been removed? But Scripture sees it a lot differently. And James would tell us, like, don't get down if you have a trial, or don't get down if you have something tough happen. This thing is meant for you. Like there's something, when you talk about coming out the other end of a hard situation, like it's going to develop your character. It's going to build perseverance. Like these are the things that are really, really meant for you, really good. And even Peter would jump in on this. 1 Peter 1:7 talks about these things that have come, these trials, these difficult things. He goes, they prove something in you. They test something in you. And the thing that it tests is your faith. And Peter would say, it's of greater value than anything else that you have that you could ever put before God. It is more valuable than gold, even though it's refined by fire. The most valuable thing that you can do is persevere and demonstrate your faith. And so that's the beauty that we see with David. And it's also what we're going to find in our authentic purpose. That one, we have to maintain a posture of service. But two, we have to be able to persevere in our purpose. And these hard trials, these difficult situations we get into, they're the very things that help us persevere in our purpose.
And that's the thing. When we persevere, there's going to be times, like in my own story, I mean, I don't want to get up every day. I mean, this morning I was in the gym. I don't want to, like, I'm going to be honest, some days, like, I love to do it. But some days the reality is I don't want to be there. There's other things you could be doing. But through that experience of me being there, I know that whenever it is, even if you, let me rephrase, if you work as if you're going to have a result, you've already failed. The fact of when you should be giving service to people, you're put in these experiences, you might not love it at the time, but don't think of it as, well, I'm going to go do this because, yeah, I might be rewarded later. No, man, we're called to, one, be able to promote our services, but two, be confronted with experiences and not just do it because you want to do it, but because you love to do it. And that's the prevalent part with myself, because half the time I don't want to be in the gym. But I know that, one, that's what by me being in the gym is helping others, because I know I need to be able to be here, because the experiences I'm going to be within the gym is going to hopefully be able to help me help others with my own training and within basketball. So
when you train or they have a drill for you to do and you fail at it, do they just move on to the next thing, or what happens?
No, well, you're going to do it again. You're going to beat on your craft. You're going to pound the stone.
You're going to get another rep.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing in our lives. We're afraid of failure, but every failure is just an opportunity to go get another rep.
And you could get 1% better at that one. It might not be this huge quantum leap that which our culture thinks that, oh, if you do this amount of times, you're going to get this huge quantum leap of, okay, well, I'm going to get this much better. No, man, it might even be 1%. It might even be 1%, but that 1% is going to contribute to that experience. That next time you have that next experience, that 1% might show up.
And if you persevere, then it takes you that much closer to your goal.
Indeed.
And for it to be authentic purpose, if we have a posture of service, and if we persevere through hard experiences, we're going to find ourselves closer and closer to the very thing that God has made us for.